Meises against Rubinstein. So Meises had the white pieces, Rubinstein had the black pieces. This game is from 1912, so it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. So e4, e5, bishop c4, knight f6. We hit the center with d4, get to our starting position, offering 2 pawns but getting 1 back when the queen takes on d4. So knight f6 is the main move, bishop g5, bishop e7. This is how the other 2 games started also. Knight c3, white prepares the castle on the queen side. Knight c6 hits the queen. Queen h4, remember, is generally where we want to put the queen in this opening. And now it's interesting that Rubinstein played d6 here instead of d5 like in the previous game. You see d6, so a little bit more of a conservative approach. d5 might be more of a liability, as we saw in the last game. So castle here, Meises castles, and then bishop e6 was played by Rubinstein. Now, generally, you don't want to make this exchange because then, black could just castle and he would be just fine with, his rook on the open f file, and the bishop is too good of an attacking piece that you don't want to trade it off at this stage. So that's why bishop d3 was played, and this sort of hinders black from castling. And as we'll see, that white can get an attack if black tries to castle too early. But queen d7 here was played instead, and now it's odd, but bishop b5, the bishop goes back to b5 because now this is a pin. Excuse me. And now knight d4 is an idea also. So Rubinstein castled, and it looks like he's safe and he's all good here. Knight d4 was played. An alternative you could try here is knight e5, trying to exploit this soft pin on the d file. And so after knight d4, a6 was played, trying to kick the bishop back, and it goes back to d3. So the bishop kind of made 3 moves there. Started on c4, went to d3, went to b5, and then back to d3. And now knight e5 is played, attacking that bishop. And it's answered with f4, attacking the knight. So after the knight takes on d3 here with check, the rook takes on d3. So not fearing this exchange because in the process, white got a rook lift. And c5 was played. And instead of moving the knight here, Meises played a good move, rook g3. Now, in the game, Rubinstein played king h8. But what happens if c takes d4 here? And I want you guys to pause the video, and see what you would play in the game. And I'll give you a couple seconds. Go ahead. And the move is bishop takes f6. Bishop takes f6. And after the bishop retakes here, queen takes f6. Another sacrifice. Because now the pin on the G file is exploited, and after G6, just queen takes D4, and this is a very good position for white. He has control over these dark squares. Black's king is weak. It's a better position. F5 for example. H4, we're just attacking here. If the queen ever moves, we get something like this, and triple if we wanted to. And those are just computer moves, but I wanted to show you those. And so going back, after rook g3, that's why Rubinstein played king h8. He probably calculated the line and saw that he was getting, shit end of the stick. So knight f3 was played now that the king is out of the way of the tactics and somewhat safe on h8. Knight f3 was played. Knight g8. And so bishops are confronted. Bishop takes e7. Queen takes e7. And now knight g5. Not wanting to trade queens here. You generally don't want to trade queens when you're attacking. Knight g5 creates a threat on h7 now. Knight h6 blocks the h file and defends. And now rook e1. Rubinstein did a really good job defending in this game. So rook e1 was pinning the bishop. Queen d7 gets out of that pin. And now rook g to e3. So doubling on the e file. And now just rook f to e8. Knight c to e4. Bishop f5. Another good move. And now, what do you think Meises played in this position? And again, I want you guys to find it. So go ahead and pause the video. And the move is knight f6. Not a winning move, but a very nice move. Knight f6. When after g takes f6 here, now the queen takes on h6. And bishop g6, for example, take on h7. Well, what about this move? So we have this and something like this with an advantage. So that's why bishop g6 was played. But now knight takes h7. So yet another sacrifice here. And after bishop takes on h7 here. Rook g3 was played in the game, but I wanna look at what I think is a better move, which is the move queen takes on f6 here. Because after king g8, f5 is a move the computer found, which actually gives white an advantage. But otherwise, you could also check in this position. But after something like bishop g6, you have to play bishop g6 not to get mated. Otherwise, it's a mate in two. And white could sacrifice the rook. This is only good for forcing a draw, though, after queen takes g6 here. King h8. And remember, it would be a real bad mistake if black tried to do this, because now he's losing a defender of one of his rooks. So black has nothing better than to accept a draw, and you can move the queen back and forth forever. So you could go for that line, but instead of rook g3 check here, I wanted to look at f5 because this is good enough for an advantage. So now you can see that if we're threatening rook g3 where black has to block with bishop g6, we cut off the g6 square with the pawn. So we create another threat, and this is a computer line that I analyzed. Queen a4, rook g3 check, bishop g6. You have to play bishop g6 here, and you have this in between rook exchange. And you just go king d2. You just guard the e file, and you have enough for an advantage here, as you're going to win this piece back. And black's king is weaker. So I just wanted to show those lines. But in the game, rook g3 was played, and again, in this line, it was a draw, but it was a draw because black was able to force the draw, like this. Rook takes e1 check, king d2, rook e2 check, and you notice that if white would ever take here, queen e6 leads to another perpetual with the bishop controlling the light squares here. So what happened was this, and again, if the king takes, queen e6 would result in another perpetual check. So what happened was they moved back and forth and they made a draw. So we can quickly recap here what happened. And it's another typical thing that can happen in your games. d6 is a more conservative way of playing. Remember, against queen d7, you can go bishop b5, but ultimately you're not afraid of this trade when black tries to attack your light square bishop, because rook g3 is an extremely good move. And remember this tactical sequence of if you take on d4, you take here, and remember exploiting this pin. You can take on f6 with the queen, and you have a better position. All right, and so just remember this endgame here that you can go for, where you can play for an advantage or you can force a draw, but either way you're going to have to know which line that you prefer here. And I think this knight f6, that's the important one to remember. Queen takes h6 here, and this knight sacrifice to follow up. But rook g3 is probably not as good as this f5, or not f5 in that position, but yeah, f5 there. So that's all I wanted to show you guys, and thank you for watching.